Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to part 6 now of my DVD library collection. So now it has ended on the thrillers now we're getting to the action now. So the action genre. So, start our minute point right here. So with 47 Ronin. Two good movies. The first one, 48 Hours, Eddie Murphy's debut, and the sequel, another 48 Hours. Really good movies. 2012, Above the Law, Steven Seagal's debut. Action Jackson. Of course, I talked about this before. This is an all-time action classic for me. One of my all-time favorite action films. Air Force One. Love this film to death. This is an all-time action classic for me. The Alamo. Then we got Ant-Man. And then the sequel, Ant-Man and the Wasp. The Art of War. Assassins. Assassination Games. Not a good one, sadly, for Van Damme. Baby Driver. Saw this back in 2017. I really enjoyed this one. Especially this from director Edgar Wright, the director of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and World's End. Bait. Then, of course, to the Batman anthology from Tim Burton to Tim Burton's first two films, then to Joel Schumacher's last two films. All these, really quick show, all these 2-disc editions. Yeah, even the shitty Batman Robin has a 2-disc edition. Yeah, 2-disc for a piece of shit, you know. But yeah, love Tim Burton's Batman, an all-time classic, and it's my favorite score from Danny Elfman, I think I said. Love Michael Keaton. To me, he has always been the best Batman. Same with my dad, he says the same thing. Enjoy Batman Returns, really good sequel. Batman Forever, I do not mind. I still think it's a pretty decent one. I like Val Kilmer. Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones I like, but then it came, of course, to Batman and Robin. We all know how that is. Then, of course, we got Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, The Dark Knight. I don't have Dark Knight Rises because I don't care to. I'll get it I'll only get it for if it's like free or it's super dirt cheap, like $1. So I can't plan to get Dark Knight Rises anytime soon. But the only thing I got good out of this Dark Knight trilogy was him. Heath Ledger as the Joker. He deserved his Oscar. He was wonderful as the Joker. He's the best part of this whole entire Christopher Nolan trilogy. He did an awesome job. May he rest in peace. And then, speaking of, the first two Bad Boys movies, Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2. I love these ones. They are two of Michael Bay's best movies. Well, my favorite of his is The Island, and I also love The Rock as well. But these are two great movies from him, especially this was his directorial debut of the first Bad Boys movies. And I really did enjoy the third one that came out this year, Bad Boys for Life. I was surprised, but I thought that was like over 20 years later, it's not going to do any good or what. But no, actually, it surprised me. I enjoy Bad Boys for Life. Can't wait to pick it up on DVD. Then we got Bad Company, Ballistic, X vs. Sever. I don't think this film was not as bad as it being called one of the worst movies ever made. Has a 0% Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think it's not as bad as that. I mean, like I said, I've seen a lot worse. I don't think it's not as bad as being called one of the worst movies ever made. To me, it's not that bad as that. And then Behind Enemy Lines. Excuse me. You know, another one, like more like a comedic actor out of their comfort zone, you know, so like Owen Wilson. Well, he has been out of his comfort zone besides comedies. You know, he's starring in horror films like The Haunting, Anaconda. So. Then, of course, I reviewed these. The Beverly Hills Cop trilogy. First one, classic. Really is a classic. The sequel, love this one. I think it's a really great sequel. I think I prefer this one more than the first one, just by a smidge, because I really enjoy the sequel. Rest in peace, Tony Scott. And then, of course, the very big, disappointing one. I don't know why. I mean, freaking Eddie Murphy in an elephant suit, and I don't know why. Very beyond disappointed. All right. Of course, again, to another all-time classic for me, as well as my brother's. Big Trouble in Little China. Talked about this countless times. Love this film to death. This is definitely an all-time classic. So I love, one of John Carpenter's great movies. My brother loves this film as well. I will more, like I say, I can watch this countless times and I get tired of it. I can memorize all of the classic lines. Really shook the pillars of heaven, didn't we, Wang? No horseshit, Jack. No horseshit, Wang. And speaking of that, that's a 2-disc edition right here. And then I got not that while ago, the collector's from Screen Factory, the collector's Blu-ray edition of Big Trouble in Little China with all the newer interviews and etc. 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 So yeah, really deserving of this. Can never grow tired of Big Trouble in Little China. Never get tired of it. Then here's a 3-disc deluxe edition of Black Hawk Down. Then I ranted on this. Black Panther. We got Black Moon Rising, which this was written by John Carpenter. He didn't direct it, but he wrote on it. See, written by John Carpenter. It's quite funny to see Tommy Lee Jones involved with director John Carpenter. So yeah, but he wrote it and did the story for this film. So yeah, it's quite funny that. Then we got Blade. Like I said before, people speaking of, like I said, oh, with this film great and all that, the black superhero. I mean, did people tend to forget about this when it came out years before? And how come this film didn't get the money that Black Panther did? People seem to forget that, years earlier, this film came out. But this film did make over $1 billion. So, hey, what do I know? Oh, slammed it down too hard and the freaking Gabumon fell down. I'll put it back there in a second. So when we talk about stuff like that, and things start falling off the shelves now. Yeah, down here now. Then with the first Blade, and we get to the good sequel, Blade 2. And then to the shitty sequel, Blade Trinity. Then we got Blind Fury. Rest in peace, Rutger Hauer. Then we got Bloodsport, Blown Away, Blue Thunder, which I think I remember like some years back they talked about a remake of this. Why, I have no idea. But that was years back, but you hear nothing about it ever since, so that's a good thing. Then Boiling Point. And then we got the first and the second film of the Boondock Saints, 1 and 2. You know, years before, if anyone was a fan of The Walking Dead, you know, of Norman Reedus as Daryl, check out the Boondock Saints. If anyone was a fan of him, you know, this is years before, so. But yeah, I didn't mind the first one. I think I remember, not mind the second one. So yeah, but if anyone was a fan of Norman Reedus, check these out. Then we got Brick Mansions, which I thought I liked with what Paul Walker he did before he passed away. Oh, this is a very shitty looking cover. Why can't I just have the one like from the poster? It's a very shitty and generic looking cover. But I like Brick Mansions. Then, of course, is another all-time action classic for me, as well as my brother. Maybe my brother can't get enough of this movie. It's a kick-ass, badass action film. Broken Arrow. Really love this one to death. Another all-time action classic for me. And then we get to the MCU's Captain America trilogy. The first one, First Avenger. Then, I would say is probably my favorite of the three. The Winter Soldier, and I do enjoy Civil War though. I think I picked the Winter Soldier. I think the Winter Soldier is one of my favorite MCU movies. And we get to another a very shitty film. This one was called one of the worst films ever made, and I don't blame it on this one. Catwoman. Would you think that a spin-off movie of a Batman villain like Catwoman would be a good idea? Would work? No. I mean, people already know how they feel about this movie. It's pretty much hated by everybody. Then we got Chain Reaction. Then another great classic one that I highly enjoy, Cliffhanger. Another great movie from Stallone. Collateral Damage. Another great one. Cobra, which really enough, my mom and dad think it's pretty stupid. Call this very stupid, but I mean they call it stupid they want though. But I really love Cobra. Crime is the disease. Meet the cure. And then another great one was Arnold over the top. Commando. Him just a one-man army takes out the whole entire army. Then we got Command Performance. I thought that was a pretty good decent one with Dolph Lundgren, which he directed this as well. Then get into another all-time action classic for me. Yeah, because a lot of time growing up, there was plenty of action films that I love to death. I consider them one of my all-time classics. Especially favorite action films. And here's another one. Con Air. I've talked about this before, or I reviewed this, but I watched this countless times when I was a kid when I watched on TV. Especially, it's funny enough, it's always at the second half of the movie. But yeah, I love Con Air. Great movie. Great favorites from Nicolas Cage. Love Con Air. Then we got the Conan the Barbarian. This is the 2-disc edition, which contains both the first film and the sequel. enjoyable. I like both the Conan movies. Not the 2011 film with Jason Momoa. No, no, no. He is Conan. To me, not Jason Momoa. Then another underrated one that I enjoy, Congo. This one I always put as an underrated movie. Enjoy this film. And yet, another one that I stick with DC, Constantine. I really love Constantine. I'm one of the few people that do. I like Keanu Reeves. I think he did a good job as playing John Constantine. People say he was miscast or they didn't follow much of the comics, especially for his appearance. But I love Constantine. This is the 2-disc edition. I reviewed this film. You can check it out. I would put the doesn't get talked about, but I prefer this as underrated. I have not seen the TV show. I don't have an interest in seeing the TV show. No, I don't, because I know the TV show, the character is more accurate, how the way his appearance, and he's British. I know that, but I think Keanu Reeves does a good job as John Constantine. This is Constantine, John Constantine, asshole. And then we got another one from Tony Scott, Crimson Tide. Next, it's hard to talk about this one, The Crow. Probably we all know the reason about this film, because of Brandon Lee. I just wonder, if he didn't do this film, he probably still would have been alive today. That's what this was always. It's hard to watch this film because of the death of Brendan Lee. It's always hard to watch this. I mean, I enjoy Brendan Lee. I like Rapid Fire. I like Showdown Little Tokyo. Yeah. So it's always hard to watch this film. Then we got the sequel, City of Angels, which sucked. I don't have the other one. I don't have the other two. Like one was called Salvation. The other one was Wicked Prayer. I'll eventually get the other one. Eventually. But essentially the third one because Fred Ward's in it. Because I like Fred Ward. So. But next, The Commuter. Dante's Peak. Daredevil, which I enjoy. Not people love this movie either, but I like Daredevil. And then we have, speaking once again with Liam Neeson, Darkman, which I enjoy. Which is a good film from Sam Raimi, which better than some of the recent stuff he's done. So, but I enjoy Darkman. And of course the direct-to-video sequels, which why? But the sequel, you have the Return of Durant, once again played by Larry Drake, and then the third one, Die, Darkman, Die. Which Liam Neeson, he's replaced by Arnold Vosloo, if anyone knows. Arnold Vosloo is the guy who played the Mummy from the one with the Mummy 1999 with Brendan Fraser. So yeah, FYI. So now we got Daylight. Days of Thunder. Then we got Deadpool. And Deadpool 2, which I enjoy more than the first one. Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. And the remake of Death Race, which I mentioned regarding about Paul W.S. Anderson. So. Then we got Death Warrant. Get in there. Then I got the original Death Wish. Which honestly I'm not the biggest fan of though, but I like Charles Bronson. His performance wasn't fine, and actually, really never stars a very. I think it was his debut of Jeff Goldblum. His debut. He played one of the rapists, sadly though. But yeah, it was funny. I think this was his debut, Jeff Goldblum. It's kind of quite funny, really enough. Yeah, to me, I thought the best one of the Death Wish movies, Death Wish 3. I really enjoyed this one. Better to me, the best one of the franchise. And actually, really enough, the remake, which I actually did not mind. I actually did not mind this remake, especially this is directed by Eli Roth. So, yeah, I actually did not mind this remake, surprisingly. And then Deep Impact. And then another great Stallone film, Demolition Man. Really love this one. And then get into another good franchise. The Die Hard franchise. So, now starting with the all-time classic, Die Hard, the first one. The really solid sequel, Die Hard 2. Another good sequel, Die Hard 3 with a Vengeance. And then the fourth one I enjoyed, Live Free or Die Hard. And then, of course, being down here on the other shelf the next shelf down here, the really disappointing one, Good Day to Die Hard. I love the 4 ones, but this was a very disappointing sequel. I ranted on this one as well, so I reviewed the Die Hard franchise, so you can check it out. Next, they got the box set of the Dirty Harry Ultimate Collection, which contains all the Dirty Harry movies. Really enjoy the Dirty Harry movies. Now following next is Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained, Domino, Double Impact, and then Double Team. Excuse me. Had a big dinner, that's why. Oops. Next, Dragonheart. Then, one of the best action films I've seen the past, how many years? Dredd. Really love this film. Carl Urban, badass as Dredd, as Judge Dredd. One of the best action films I've seen in the past, I would say, maybe 15 years, I would say. So, yeah. Then you got Drop Zone, Earthquake, Edge of Darkness, and Elektra. This is the director's cut, but 2-disc edition. How this one got a 2-disc edition, I have no idea. One of the worst. I mean, I know Jennifer Garner, she's doing her best, though, but it's like, do we need a spin-off of Elektra? So. Next, we got Enemies Closer. Really good one from Arnold Schwarzenegger. Eraser. From director Chuck Russell, the director of The Blob, 1988, and The Mask. Another great film from John Carpenter, the 2-disc special edition of Escape from New York. Another great film from John Carpenter. And actually, a sequel I actually did like. I actually liked the sequel, Escape from L.A. This film flopped though, but I actually did not mind the sequel. I like the sequel. Then of course they got the disappointing film, Escape Plan. And then of course you got the sequel, Escape Plan 2, Hades, which how this got a trilogy was the third one I don't have though, but how this one got a trilogy I have no idea. I have no idea how this one got a trilogy. Next, this one another action one I do enjoy. Beverly. I think Salma Hayek did a really great job as the character. Yeah, Salma Hayek, I do agree with that. Salma Hayek is a badass. I do agree with that. So yeah, I really enjoy Beverly. Exit Wounds. The first Expendables film. And then Expendables 2. I don't have the third one because it sucked. Then we got Extreme Justice. And then we got Face Off. And then move on to another big franchise. So I'll show right now the entire franchise of the Fast and Furious franchise. So yep, 1, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, then 8, and then technically you say it's the 9th one, but the film was the new one. And the next one's called Fast and Furious 9, though. But if you won't put it technically, this is the 9th one, and that one's the 10th one. But yeah, they call that one the 9th one, though. But still, you want to put it technical, though. But then Hobbs and Shaw, and yes, I did heard that Idris Elba does tested positive for the coronavirus. Sucks so. So I hope he's doing fine. So I did hear about that. So I would say best wishes for Idris Elba. You know, it sucks for anybody, but hope everyone gets better. Next, Fire Down Below. And next one, Firestorm, which I'm sorry, I mean, I like Howie Long and Broken Arrow, though, but I don't think he's seemed that fit to be an action star. I mean, you get some good fire stunts. I mean, you got Scott Glenn and William Forsythe as the bad guy. But I mean, Howie Long, he didn't do that bad job, but I don't see him as being I mean, this is starting out with him trying to be an action star, but sadly, it failed, though. From Paris with Love, I enjoy this one with John Travolta, really do. Geostorm, which I also, another one I surprisingly liked. This was a huge flop, though, but I surprisingly liked Geostorm. So this is directed by Dean Devlin, who's produced on pretty much most of all of Roland Emmerich's movies. So this is his directorial debut. And I reviewed this not that long ago. Get Carter. You can hear my thoughts on this one. Gone in 60 Seconds. And then The Glimmer Man. And then the classic film, The Goonies. And then I'll just end up end this video on the ending on this shelf. So a lot more action films than I had. So next is another good a favorite war film of mine, Hamburger Hill. Really great one. Hard Boiled. Another great action film I've seen in recent few years. Hardcore Henry. Really enjoy Hardcore Henry. Hard Rain. Then a favorite of Van Damme's of mine. Hard Target. Hard to Kill. And Heartbreak Ridge. And then you got the 2014 one of Hercules. And that's about it for this one, for this shelf. So, put that back. So yeah, so I'll just end on this part here because there's a lot more action films I have, because it doesn't stop at this shelf here. It goes to the one right behind me right here in the corner there. So there's a lot more action films I have left. So, but I hope you enjoyed this for part 6. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for part 7 later.